Right. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Growers Not Showers. Today's grower, who's also a shower, is Mr. Josh Jenkins. We've got him here.
Hello.
Josh, mate, how are you on this fine morning?
I'm good. I'm very good. I'm sound. I'm cool. No, a lovely start to the day. I've already got. It was. I'm not, I was supposed to be on a high day today. I'm not on a high day today. I was on a high day yesterday. But no, I've got my steps down at 8K. I've already boxed off like 7. I've got virtually all of my work done, and it's 10 to 1. And I'm like, yeah, it's a pretty chilled out rest day, which is nice. How are you, boys?
Who wants to go first? Because there's four of us, we're going to have to be conscious of taking it in turns to talk. Tell you what, I'll pass the speaking vape to Camille. There you go, mate.
Cheers, mate. So we've started the second week of prep. Still feeling really, really fresh. Body weight is shooting down. Getting into the routine of things. I like doing steps, going gym, coming back doing more steps, eating, doing some more steps, going to do cardio, then doing some more steps. So yeah, just in the swing of things, I'm definitely enjoying it. It's easy to say because we're 27 weeks out, so we have a very fucking long time before I even think about food. But funny enough, I've actually been having to force feed myself a little bit. I actually had to beg Jack last week to drop my food because for some reason, as soon as we just bumped cardio, my body was like, right, like you're not hungry anymore. So that was interesting. I'm not complaining by any means, by the way.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I'd rather force feed myself than be hungry at this stage.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, pretty chilling. I hack squatted 6 plates 2 days ago, which was a nice little PB for me. So
On
I'm
the
proud of that. But
Cybex.
yeah.
Cybex.
You can
VR.
put a reel up about it and be like, you can't progress in a deficit. I've been in a deficit for like 3 days.
Yeah. I'm trying to drop my glycogen as quick as possible. Anyways, Matty, how have you been, man? We haven't spoken in so long.
He's having Wi-Fi issues.
Not going to be chatting for just a little bit longer.
He joined the call originally and he was like, oh my god, no Wi-Fi issues. Like, this is it, guys. I'm actually going to be able to do the pod as soon as the camera starts rolling.
Yeah,
Bless
he's
him.
just moved into the sticks, so like his Wi-Fi is horrendous, bless him.
How have you been,
Yeah,
Josh? At 10?
mate, I'm good. I mean, you know what? Like, I just fucking say it because I was gonna probably announce it today. I'm 65 days out from PCA First Timers Free. Wow, everyone cares. Everyone, round of applause, please. So I'm like sub 10 weeks out now. Thanks, George.
Instead of round of applause.
Everything's going good, as you'd hope. I'm still, 9.5 weeks out, so I still feel 9.5 weeks out like I'm not going to be on death's door. So yeah, things are fine. We're good, rolling along. It doesn't feel like we're super duper digging, but my body's responding. So yeah, and also my blood pressure is in range, which is why I'm comfortable announcing it because it's looking like if my heart's probably not going to explode, touch wood, by the time we get to stage. So hopefully we can land on stage and I'll be mint.
The
Josh, mate,
goal is one super droll.
yeah. To be fair, I
You
mean,
have to tolerate a super droll.
I'm still monitoring it, and it's still like it's sound, but I am monitoring it and trying not to be like too anxious about it. But yeah, I've only had the one refeed so far, so basically I'm looking for a new coach. If anyone has any suggestions, no, I'm kidding. How come Tim pulled your high day? Speaking of high days,
So we ran, I think it was like 3 back-to-back high days at the back end of January, which was like 3 weeks into prep. Mainly because like body weight was coming down, and I wasn't like ridiculously flat, but I was noticing already like some drop off of training performance, and we'd already pulled off like 15 pound, and then body weight just didn't move after each one. So we're like, cool, just do the same, do the same, do the same. Then but went back to normal. So I had normal baseline diet. Then body weight then went up like 5 pounds. It was basically like the effect of all the high days in one. Then eventually they trickle back down. And then we had some more high days about 2 weeks or so ago. And then we are planning to just dig a little bit harder. Got a new low on Monday, which was lovely. I then Monday? Monday or Tuesday, one of the two. I think it was Tuesday. Then had a new low going into when I can't remember the top of my head.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, new low on Tuesday. Then trained legs. My body weight always goes up after legs through inflammation. But then for the first time after a high day, I actually gained weight. So I was up to 206.5 today. So we were just like, right, well, the high day's done its job. We're absolutely fine. Got a lot more detail through the body now. So it's going to kick off for another couple of days, and it'll probably mean that we can then feed up again, potentially in the next maybe week or so. But essentially, I just want to dig, to be honest.
Fair.
Like, I'm in a decent spot, and like, my food's not low either. My food's in a relatively decent spot. I'm on like 400 carb training days, 270 odd on rest days. Expenditure just 15k steps. Fat burners are really low as well, or relatively low anyway. And yeah, we've got loads of tools there, but I was like, well, I also feel like I've not worked that hard yet, which I think is in some aspect is irrelevant, right? And I don't think that, like, whether you feel like you're digging or whether you feel like it's hard or not, it makes a difference. But I also think if you feel that you like have that internal want to push, that's even better, because then I find like sometimes if people are psychologically resenting it, they're then, not that it makes much of a difference, but if you're not putting effort into, if someone's got cardio in, that's going to have some impact there. If you're dragging your feet when you're doing your steps, it's going to have, in my opinion, some little impact there. But no, I feel absolutely sound, so I'm like, yeah, cool. Like, I think Tim wants to put the high days in a bit earlier, but I was like, no, it'll be fine. I wanted to get a new low anyway, so I was like, yeah, cool. So we start thinking for the week now.
I know what you mean with not feeling like things are really a push at the minute, and like every time I check in with Tim, I'd be like, oh, you know, I can do more, we can do more. It doesn't feel hard, and every week he has to remind me and be like, look, you're 11 weeks out or 10 weeks out or wherever you're at, you are where you need to be. Like, you're not going to feel 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, 11 weeks out, that shouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Look, I actually spoke about it to one of my clients who's prepping now, and he was supposed to be doing September first timers, but we started like a bit of a pre-prep in November, and got to like the back end of January, start of Feb, and I was looking at him, and we'd already started reverting some food up. Body wasn't really moving, and I was like, look, mate, like, if we go and do the September show, yes, we're going to have a period of like 12 to 14 weeks where we're in a little bit of a surplus, but you're going to spend the best part of the year in diet. That's a lot of stress on the body. Can we improve the physique within 12 weeks? Yes. He's also assisted, so of course you can. But is it going to be ridiculous? No. But we've got a show which we can do in either May first timers or June, which is a lot closer. Still, like, when we actually started his prep now for June, still like 19 weeks, which is more than enough time, especially if you're already starting in a very lean position anyway. And we've been cracking on with that, and he's been like, oh, my body weight's not moving down. I'm like, but your average is down £2 across the week from last week. You're fine. Yeah. And I think it's not even just with first timers. I think it's with anybody, right? Like, if you're in a prep, you chase that new low. You chase, I want to be leaner. I feel like I can push more. So therefore, why am I eating this food if I feel like I don't need it? If I'm not hungry, if I'm not starving, I'm not like ravenous for a meal, I could theoretically leave it and I'd be absolutely fine. It wouldn't piss me off at all. But you don't need to be ready 10 weeks out. And I think that, like, don't get me wrong, everyone knows that. Of course, it makes sense. But I think when you're in a prep, anyone will be the exact same. It's like, oh, I'm not shredded now, so that's a bad thing. No, it's not. It's a good thing. You don't want to be ready now.
There's that tendency to, like, you take someone, you put them in a deficit, and they're immediately like, well, this is the most cardio I can tolerate, and here's the most steps I can tolerate, and the lowest my food can go. And I'm like, okay, cool, let's say we do that. When that stops working, we're now however many weeks in, and you've given me the max that you're okay with. So where do we go from here? Immediately into discomfort. If someone's like, oh yeah, man, like 20 minutes cardio post-workout, I can do every single time, then that's run its course. Now it's time for 25, 30 or less food, etc. Right? So being in a position like at the minute, like with my cardio, it's at a decent level, and I'm like, okay, well, I have Sundays off cardio. I could probably do cardio on Sundays. I think I'll be okay with that. But if there's no need to do that, then why put that in now? Let's wait until it gets to the point where I need to.
You want to have. I think the best thing you can always have in any prep you do. Granted, there's going to be some preps which are which are more of a struggle. Whether it's someone who, let's say someone joins you and they're like, I want to do a show in 16 weeks, and they look 20 weeks out. You're gonna have to do a bit more. Then if you've got someone who is, whether it's the bikini category, whether it's a junior first time in men's physique, something like that, where the overall level of muscle isn't going to be the same as an open bodybuilder, you are going to probably have to suffer on a lot less food and a lot more cardio. But I think the most important thing that you can do is always make sure that no matter where you're at, you still know what changes you can make and they make sense, because you don't want to be, and this is something I've done with even clients who don't want to compete, anyone is actually taken away from a deficit a lot more now. Sometimes I don't, if someone wants to just get into shape, I don't start them dieting right then, because I think, I call it like the filling of the bank theory in my head. I think the best thing you can possibly do is always have that bank of tools to pull away from as full as you possibly can, because what you don't want to do is get to a point where you're on 1100 calories a day, hours of cardio. This person goes and works a 12-hour shift. They haven't got time to go and do more cardio because they have got other things on their life. They've got kids. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you're going to go in town to go and train legs for 2 hours and give them 10 exercises. It's not going to work. So you need
like American preps. Like I look at, there's a few influencers that like I follow on social media. Like Coach Colton is one that comes to my mind as like a coach and influencer. He talks about his like natural preps. He's like, yeah, bro, like 2 lots of 45 minutes of stairs a day. And it's like, at that point, man, like, what the fuck has got you into that position where, like, yeah, granted, people have to push hard, but, like, you look at him and it's like, it was a decent level of muscularity, food was low, steps were high. It's like, what the fuck? How did you manage to get in that position? Like, you must have, some error along the way must have been made. Like, did you...
It's usually starting position as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's usually starting position, or, like we kind of said, like, using your tools too early.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, if someone's on, let's say, 3,000 calories a day, and they're like, oh, yeah, but I could eat 2,500 calories, I think it's important from a coaching standpoint. And again, like, I know you spoke about, like, when, if you're, like, mentioned to him, oh, I could do more. I think every single client will always have that, will always say those things. But I think it's important from a coaching standpoint to look at that in the sense of, this client isn't demanding that we go and put more, that they eat less food. They're just saying, I'm psychologically switch the fuck on and I want to do this. They're not saying I demand that you drop my food by the third. They're not. They're just saying that they feel that they could do that, which I think is a positive thing to hear from a coaching aspect. But then I think it's an issue if that gets too much to the point where that starts blurring a coach's like decision making. Because if you go and do that, I don't know of many coaches who that really happens with anyway. Yeah. But if you then go and do that, where are you then going to go and take things when body weight stalls 5 weeks out and you still have body fat to pull off, and they're on 1100 calories, they're on an hour of cardio a day, and they're literally saying, I've got no other time to do things, you know?
Yeah. Then the look's going to suffer. I think, like you said, they're having an idea of like what's next is good. Like you only really want to have your tools exhausted when the fat loss is exhausted. Really, that's perfectly timed.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It's like I think any deficit has got to be reactive. Especially towards that last round of a competition prep, things change daily, essentially every couple of hours. But I think from my end, when I'm just going to say prepping someone because I feel like that's just it's a bit more technical there. I always kind of know the next change I'm going to make.
Mm-hmm.
Could always change, but I know the next thing I'm going to do. And I think if I don't know what I'm next going to do, that's a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like, okay, the next time someone's body weight stalls, their food is already pretty low, but they've got a bit more time on this day, so therefore they could do with more cardio. Or we can have a look upon, if they're assisted, where drugs are at. We can have a look at what leverage and some fat loss agents there. But I think it's important to always have a plan there.
Agreed, definitely.
And what has been different? Because I'm assuming you've prepped before. Is this your second prep?
Third,
bro.
Third prep.
Yeah.
So what has changed in your approach, if anything, from your second to third prep?
This prep, I didn't spin on Tim 11 weeks out. Approximately about 2 days after I started working with him. I didn't even know if I was going to on something. What's that?
Didn't you just voice note him and be like, should I prep? Do a prep? Should I prep?
No, I just said, my life's in the bin. I want to do a prep, and he was like, sound good. Cool. I was planning to prep last year, and I prepped the year before in 2024. I prepped in 2023, and it got to like end of April, start of May, and I picked up a couple of injuries. So I had a bit of like a nerve issue going through like my right leg, and then I had a couple of other things going on, but ultimately I could still train around it. It was absolutely fine. But then I got into like a week of pulling back / prep or whatnot. And I spoke to my girlfriend, I spoke to Tim, I was like, I don't know why, but for the first time in my life, I can't be asked. Like, I had no issue with saying it. I was like, I can't be bothered to go and put the effort in to go on stage. I don't care enough. And I don't think that's a good idea. I literally said, I don't think that's me being a shit bodybuilder. I think that's just me being honest. Right now, I can't be asked. I might go next year, I might go the year after, but right now I just can't be bothered. So I didn't. And then towards like the back end of last year, I was maybe thinking about it a bit more. Then I kind of wasn't, and I was like, I wanted to just walk around with more muscle, like regardless of competing, I just want to have more muscle to my frame. But then it got to like the back end, like very back end of the year, and I was like, well, if I went early in the year, it'd be my last chance to do a couple of junior regionals. I can't do the universe, I turned 24 a couple of days beforehand. But it would give me a good chance to just do a couple more shows. All of my clients are going at the end of the year or midpoint of the year now. My girlfriend's going at the end of the year, so it means that towards that point, I don't have to worry as much about me. Last year at shows, I dropped about £6 or £8 at each show. I don't think that's a good idea to do in a prep. But when you're not in a prep, you can kind of get away with it and just say like, oh, well, I'll make up with it with a Ben and Jerry's later. But yeah, like it kind of drops off the stress, and it means that I get to do it again. And like I said to him, I was like, look, well, we want a diet anyway. Let's just go into a diet. I'm going to treat it exactly like a prep. And then if I want to do it and I stop getting injured, they'll be fine. Because I also tore my adductors at the start of.
Yeah,
it wasn't torn as in like when you see like a pec tear and it's like all bruised everywhere.
Yeah.
It wasn't
grade 3 tear.
I couldn't do an adductor. I didn't even do it on an adductor. I did it on like a squat press. I couldn't. My girlfriend had to move my legs into a seated hamstring curl. I couldn't bring my legs up. I couldn't do 3 pins on the stack of it, and I was like, this isn't good. Oh shit! And then I did the same thing to my pec about 6 weeks ago.
Jesus, mate.
Yeah, I think something that's not talked enough is like how destructive injuries can be in prep if not managed properly. Because like the whole premise of like doing rehabilitation is like putting an additional recovery demand that you simply do not have in prep, which inevitably will need you to pull back even more on training and therefore increased chance of losing muscle, etc., etc. So like I think going forward, something that I'm going to promote a lot for a lot of people is just having prehab in place going into prep, which is what I do every single day. I wake up, on top of doing my mobility work, I've got like tailored stability exercises like for my abs, whatever, that I picked out that's really weak for me, and I think that's a big contributing factor to potentially me not getting injured, because you're just looking after the key areas that are more likely to flare up. But I think ultimately going forwards, prehab for bodybuilders is so fucking important in prep, because chances of injury go up so much, and like if you do pick up a big injury, chances of you fixing it 100% in prep are very, very slim.
You know what I think is almost like a negative in a way is peptides.
Very much so.
I feel like people rely on them way too much. Like, don't get me wrong, I use BPC T500 for my adductors for like 3 weeks, but then I also didn't go back into training as I usually would. I was like, right, I'm going to start with some really high rep sets. Not that I wasn't already, but like I even further refined my training. I was like, I can't afford for anything to go wrong now.
Yeah.
So, and it's almost acts like a bit of a wake up call, but I do think I'm not slamming BPC 200. They're out of all the peptides which are a lot more popular over the course of last year. Granted, they've been around for a lot longer. I think they're by far the best too. They have a real good benefit there, but I think that people use them as a crutch way too much. Like, oh, I've got an injury, let me put this in, but then you're not actually sorting the root issue out.
Yep.
you're sorting you're sorting what's gone wrong, but you're not stopping it from happening again. So yeah, they're great to help things, but I think the most important thing you can do is actually look upon why they're happening. Is it because of how you're trained? Is it because of mobility, anything like that? And actually look upon fixing that as well. But I think we rely on things way too much. It's the same way, I think I've said this to you, Jack, before, like natural bodybuilding, so much more competitive than amateur assisted bodybuilding.
Yeah.
A billion times. Because if someone's assisted and they're a bit lazy, I can't bother going to do my steps. Let me go and bang 120 clen.
Mm-hmm.
You know? But that, it doesn't work. It's something which, it's almost like a multiplier. PEDs are a multiplier, right? But if your output is shit, it's not going to change your life. You know?
You can drug your way to looking decent and looking better.
I disagree.
But no, wait. But like looking decent, you're not gonna look fucking phenomenal.
I heavily disagree. I think you can't.
Really?
I think you can't. I think you can really tell physiques which are built on drugs, and I think they look worse than if they never took anything in their life.
I can agree with that.
I think you can really tell.
I mean,
it's always the you can also say that the skin, in terms of like, it's not oily, but it's like it doesn't look the same. Whereas if someone knows how to train, they've earned that they've whether they've competed natural or not, like that's irrelevant, right? But they know how to train, they know how to diet, they're using a structured amount of anabolics which are going to benefit the physique and bring an aesthetic, a pleasing look. Whether you're going into open bodybuilding, men's physique, bikini, figure, classic, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? A drugged physique will never, ever be the same physique, which is a lot more aesthetically pleasing, based
True.
on how it's been built.
But you could you could take someone who's middle of the pack, and they could be lazy and they could land themselves on a PCA stage, which is basically what I'm doing. No, I'm kidding. But like you could land yourself like like you're never gonna. I think that part of the reason why natural bodybuilding is more competitive is because like you have to do the things, or you're not going to get there. Whereas with enhanced bodybuilding, particularly like coaches who don't put their foot down well, or they're just focused on placing or whatever, just be like, okay, you don't want to do more movement. Well, we can put more clen in, and let's just do that. And like, it's going to get you there, so fuck it. It's not going to give that person the most competitive look, and it's not going to give them the best outcome. If they did try significantly harder, they'd get significantly better. But I think particularly like, you know what a PCA stage is like. You can drug yourself there. Come on, to a PCA stage, especially now.
Some of them, yeah. I think over the last couple of years, I think it's even harder. I think PCA it's always been very competitive. I think it's getting even higher. I think if you look at like a collective across the year, PCA is a billion times more competitive than two bros. With the exception of a couple of shows now. Like if you look at like the MK Classic will be a very busy show because you've got the Pro Qualifier a couple of weeks later. If you look at like the Physique Pro Tim and Christian show, end of the year, that will be very, very busy because it's the last regional before the Pro Qualifier. Of course it will. But as a collective, if you look at like shows where there's not maybe a UK regional too close to it, PCA, especially towards the back end of the year, is always going to be rammed. There's no real easy shows anymore.
Okay, I can see that. I think I always see juniors and teens being the most competitive classes in PCA, especially. Obviously, other than like pro calls and like you see some absolute like nuts freaks and stuff. But I feel like the younger scene now is especially kind of flourishing. I think it's more people getting into bodybuilding more and more. I'll tell you what, here's an interesting question. How do you feel? How do you feel about more and more younger natural bodybuilders, and how do you feel about more and more younger bodybuilders?
What, as in people competing naturally as a team?
Yeah, so the fact that teens and juniors is getting busier for both natural feds and assisted feds.
I think naturally, first of all, I think it's amazing. Because I also think when people are young, they want to learn. They want to they're almost a bit naive. and they're like, I want to be the best at this. I want to go and impress my mates. And then they're putting loads of effort. If you look at teens last year, again, phenomenal, really good. If you look at juniors, again, phenomenal, really good. PCA juniors British finals was probably one of the most competitive classes on the day. You know, but then you are seeing a lot more teens now going and competing. What they've already taken gear and they're like 17, 18, and I'm like, I just look at that and again, when people are very when you see naturals doing it and they're naive, their naivety gets them into condition.
Yeah.
And when you see the naivety when they're assisted, it's then they're just drugged up and they look a bit mad. And it's just like, bro, you're really like. I remember, I don't want to. I don't want to sound like a dick, but I know.
Go for it.
I know at the same time, I did see people. I was at the show, but I didn't comment on anything. I was at First Timers 5 last year in September. There was someone in junior bodybuilding, fucking huge, ridiculous. Anything with his arm overhead, he had an abscess underneath each lat. And you look at it and you're like, mate, come on.
Yeah.
And it's like, you've got a fantastic physique. You're absolutely huge. If you pull off another couple of pounds and if you just do things a bit smarter, you're looking at a British title and you've just competed for the first time a few weeks beforehand. You know? And I think that naivety, I think when people then go assisted and they're very young, I think naivety is a bad thing. But I think naivety with natural federations is actually a better thing because I think people work harder.
I can see that.
What I find is quite interesting is when I'm only 21 now, but when I was younger and I was getting into kind of like the gym just in general, and I was like, 16, 17, I didn't even thought about doing steroids or anything like that. But how social media kind of glorifies things nowadays, I think that's had a massive impact. Let me know if you agree, but had a massive impact on that younger generation. And you see these like 16, 17-year-olds going to coaches going, I want to jump on gear, and it's like, fucking hell, you barely know how to do a single out lat pull down. Like, be careful what you're winning for it. Like, it's kind of crazy. I just wanted to say
They're
that.
still putting foam rollers on their wrist.
I think we're like, for example, anyone who I work with, if anyone's come to me on gear, the first thing I actually look to do, depending on, like, again, if I know them, if I know they train well, if I know they've got everything in place, okay, it's a bit different. But the first thing I'm probably doing is actually pulling them out.
Yeah.
I'm pulling them out and I'm like, I want to get you into the position which I want you to. Mm-hmm. I've had people literally not even bother signing up with me because of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, that's fine. I don't care, but I ain't going to go and keep you on the 40 milligrams of Halo you're running a day because I don't believe it's the right thing to do.
That's so telling what they're there for. If someone comes to you, it's because, like, in a pure sense, if someone's coming to you in the way they should be, they're coming to Josh Jenkins to work with Josh Jenkins. They want your brain applied to their physique. Yeah. As soon as you pull out drugs, if they're like, whoa, like, all they want is, they don't actually want to work with you. They want someone who's just a pharmacist who's going to prescribe things for them. I don't know how much Halo I should take. The answer's none for now. For what you're doing at the minute, but like, I don't know how much Halo I should take, so maybe I'll go to Josh and he'll double it, and it's like, not specific.
Don't get it wrong. I think it's not as popular anymore, but like, like the safer use model.
Yeah.
I think people have definitely like seen the issues with that in the sense now. It's like, if you're looking to go assisted, right, you are confident in doing that, you are to a certain level accepting that there's going to be some detriment towards your health.
Yep.
There's also the argument, it's like, if you're going to go assisted and you want to really pursue that, sound. But then you also have to understand that if you're looking to be as health conscious as you possibly can at all times and have every single blood marker absolutely perfect, there is no point you taking PDs because you're not going to be able to use any.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then I think that the safe use model, again, it's great and it provides a fantastic foundation for what we can look to utilise. But then I think if you're looking to really actually push things, you want to actually look upon further from that. I remember, I think it was a few years ago, Jack, I know you know him, Luke Oliver Harris.
Yeah.
I remember I think he put a post up and it was, or maybe a story, and it was years ago, so I don't know how I still remember it, but I remember it sticks in my head. And he said, like, if you're looking to go assisted, right, you might see people saying, stop going to 500 milligrams. Yeah, don't start on 500 milligrams, but don't go and start at TRT. because you're now starting at just shutting your body down from what it normally does to give it what it normally does.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, like there, and that's not to say like anyone who's listening to the podcast. That's not to say like we're not going to use drugs. We are, but it's also not in the case of like, right, we're going to just blast things for no reason. I think you need to also earn your stripes there. But then when you earn your stripes, you learn how to train better. You know, to do everything else better. Then you go back to what the same amount of milligrams you were using before. You're going to fucking grow a lot more.
Yeah, it's the safer use model was kind of a phrase that I never felt entirely comfortable saying to clients, because I'm not saying the safe use model, but I feel like it gives a semblance of like false reassurance in a way of like, oh, safer use model, okay, so things won't go wrong. It's like, it's not really what I'm saying.
You know what? I also think it's created like this idea in people's head. You know, like the whole argument of like, you should never diet below 1,000 calories.
Yeah.
There's nothing special about 1,000 calories. If you go and eat 999 and you go and eat 1,001, there's not really a difference. There's nothing special about a gram of gear.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
If someone is genetically elite, and I'm not just talking from muscle bellies and insertions, I'm talking from blood work, right? They might go and run at 1.5 grams of gear, and their bloods might be absolutely fucking perfect.
Yeah.
But then someone might go and run 300 milligram, and their bloods might be fucked. There's nothing special about a certain amount of drugs. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing special about it. Granted, don't go and run 10 grams of gear, because you'd probably be able to get a nice house for half the price anyway. And there's probably there's more important things in life.
Is there? I don't know, bro.
Depends. Depends if you pay for the house already. But yeah, I think when you actually like read into a couple of things a bit more, I think then you actually think, there's a lot of like, maybe not limitations, but certain like things which people are like get in their head about a bit way too much. Where I'm like, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's I like the phrase risk reward and risk reward ratio, or like, you know, adjacent words, because it's like, as long as you're consenting and accepting of the risk, then, you know, how you approach things is entirely up to you. Like, you can theoretically like microdose drugs if you want to and do that, sure. Like, why are you doing that? If you can justify it, sure. And then there's also people who are like, yeah man, I just like want to live until I'm 28 and I'm fine with that. And it's like, okay, yeah, sure, fuck it, like go for it. Don't get a coach to do that for you, but like, hey, if that's what you want to do, that's your life, bro, go for it. Just don't make it anyone else's problem. And like, there's no right or wrong way to do things when it comes to like amounts. It's more just the reasons why. There's a right reason and a wrong reason, and there's like, you know, young lads who want to blast a gram, and it's like, you don't actually mean that, you mean you want to get big, and there's better, smarter ways to do it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people get hung up on numbers, and it's like, especially like, I feel like young lads, they always come to me with the occasional feedback of like, what else could we do? When are drugs going up? Could we do more? And it's like, I think there's a maturity to realizing that like, bodybuilding is just bodybuilding, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, I've been on a range of doses, I've never really felt a difference. It's like, it's the same shit.
I'm not gonna lie, I notice things when I come off.
Yeah, I can see that. Same.
I've never noticed anything when going on.
No, same.
I think it's so negligible, because it takes so long for it's not so long, maybe like 2-3 weeks, but it's so like, it's not a kick, right? I think it's very subtle and over time, and you might notice something. You might, if you're not like an Oura ring. I don't have one. It's me, of course I don't. But if on an Oura ring where it says exactly how long you've slept for, if you had something like that which tells you your happiness levels, your alert levels, all of these things, yeah, you definitely would see some changes. But you're not going to notice anything overnight, and that's why again I think people massively look upon these things of like, a gram of gear is going to do this.
I remember the first time I did a blast, and I went into the gym and I was still scrapping for reps, and I was disappointed. And then I was getting coached by Christian at the time, and I spoke to him and I was like, man, like, what's going on? He's like, well, yeah, like, what did you expect? Like, you're not going to just become Superman. Like, you still got to do it. And I remember being like, oh shit, like, nothing's changed. I've still just got to eat my food and do
Can
my
I go for a quick wee?
No. Yeah, man, go for it.
Can I come with?
Yeah, bro, bring us with.
Bring us with you.
We'll leave it in. We'll leave it in.
No, yeah, leave it in. I don't really care.
Matt, mate, it's been a minute since we caught up with you. So, how are things, my love?
Lovely, lovely stuff. I mean, I've been very, very boring. Don't worry. Can I just check my mic is all good? I've been waiting to say it. Is my mic and speaker all good? Because obviously I read.
Yeah.
It's all good,
Apparently,
mate.
just
You're
didn't
okay.
like a different browser I was using, so I just had to restart the browser. I don't know. It was weird. But anyway, it's been a good week. It's been a good week. Had a couple of startups this week, which has been very, very exciting. I kind of put on my story the other day. This is a job that the positive from this job I would have never expected. Okay, I'm going from like a setup to like an 18-year-old who's addicted to the gym to like a 44-year-old who's got 2 kids. I love the range of people we work with. It's just something I've come to a realization with it. I've been doing it for a while now. It's so fucking mint. You just go from one check-in and then you completely speaking about something else in the other one. It's just pretty cool. But yeah, that was probably the highlight of my week. That was pretty fucking boring, but yeah, it was pretty good learning about these people.
How's your training going at the moment?
My training is going good thanks to your rehab. Look at that. You were definitely going to expect me to say that. I thought you were fishing for that. No, my the pain in my my scap's kind of disappeared now. It's being pretty good. Sometimes I notice it at work, but it's definitely to a lower degree, which is very, very nice. Look, to know almost like you know your stuff. But yeah, training's going fantastic. I just love the environment of Ultraflex Durham. Like, I'm used to like really, really cramped small gyms that have a lot of Gen Pop people in, which is absolutely fine. You know, I know what gym I'm walking into. Ultraflex, they do have a lot of Gen Pop people, but they're the kind that understand, because they've been in that environment for long enough. They understand how to work in with people, and they don't just look at you when you go, you know, how many sets you've got left. And it's like, I just want to drop kick you. But genuinely, it's such a nice environment in there. Like, everyone's really, really supportive. And like, if you're going to failure on like I don't know, the other week I was going to failure on the Cybex hack, I can see like 3 people around me just looking over when I'm pushing close to failure to come over to, you know, when you can tell someone's lingering there. It's just quite nice. It's just quite a good experience. But that's enough about my week. You know, it's not my pot. I'm just
one
small natty on this part. I think I'm the only one not in prep, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're the only natural as well, bro. You're holding up
Yeah,
the
you
flag.
guys
You're
are all
really
supposed to be
healthy.
miserable,
Healthy.
you know. Like, I'm supposed to be the
You're too
happy
healthy
one.
for
You
us.
just, you know, you guys need to chill out a bit.
I've got a reason I'm not miserable, and I'll get onto it in a bit, and it's really stupid, but I'll explain it in a bit.
Oh, mate, drop it now. Come on.
No, drop it. You can't
I
keep us
think
in suspense like that.
Tren acetate is the best nootropic I've ever taken in my life.
Really?
I don't know why. I've never felt like it beforehand, but since I've had it in, I'm like, I just feel so brilliant. I feel amazing.
Have you run an anthate before?
No, I've ran Tren Hex before.
Oh, I did an anthate. It made me very depressed.
No, I feel like I've literally microdosed it 70 milligram a week, so it's 10 milligrams a day, and I feel just really just like not like amped up or anything. I'm like, right, cool. I've got to do this, do that, and I'm like, right, sound. I've got to do this. I've got to crack on. Something's annoying. I'm like, cool. It's fine. It's not the end of the world. It's like the complete opposite of what you should be like on training. I'm just like, yeah, it's on. So even like mood, I'm just like, yeah, I feel great. But then I do find more than 150. I'm like,
I only ran like 100 meg, and it was an anthate, to be fair, but it was not a good time. Not a good time.
I think I might have told you this before. I was on 100 milligrams in a prep before. Then I changed lab. At the same time, I went to 150, and then it was 150 milligram per mil, not 100. So instead of going to 150, I went to 225.
Oh God!
And I was actually like, right, I don't like this. I don't like that. I don't like being in traffic anyway. But how I'm feeling now isn't good. So I double checked everything. I was like, yeah, just bring that right down.
I remember, to be fair, it did help my training performance, but I remember vividly doing like cable tricep extensions and graftism and literally crying, but like absolutely smashing PRs. But I remember I was crying, and that's when I was like, okay, I think this is PED induced. I don't think this is normal. At the time, I couldn't tell for ages that like anything was wrong. I was like, oh, I'm just miserable because things are miserable. And then when that happened, I was like, okay, maybe this is
It's always a trigger, isn't it? You're like, that's not me.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I'm like,
Oh, that's that. Oh, that wasn't Jack. That was someone. It's like you know in like Venom. It's like, oh, that wasn't me. Shit.
literally biting people's heads off.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be fair, it didn't really affect me in like an angry way. I just remember like, yeah, just pure depression was not a good time. But hey, depression strength sounds pretty cool. One thing that I've been wanting to ask, and I don't really have a good segue for it. I've got a bad habit of just inflating the egos of every guest that we bring on, and I'm going to continue that bad habit. Yeah. You've grown a lot the past year. I was going to say it longer, but you got too excited, so I've summarised it down. Can't give you too much ego, mate. But you've grown a lot the past year. Seriously,
Thank you. Very
what
much.
do you think has lent to that? Because you know when you look at some athletes and it's like,
I'm gonna give you the
yeah, you're
worst
progressing
answer.
year on year. Wait, what was
I'm
that?
gonna give you the worst answer in the world, by the way.
I'm so ready. You look at some bodybuilders, it's like, yeah, you're progressing year on year, it's what you do. And you look at some bodybuilders over a year and you're like, what the fuck happened? Your past year has been one where I've looked at your pictures and I'm like, what the fuck happened? And you've done it twice now. You did it when you first started working with Tim, you blew up, and you've blown up again. What changed? What's helped? Go on.
I think from my first prep to my second was better.
We've been through that.
'Cause that was like 10 months and I grew like 10 kilos on stage and I was a lot sharper. I'll be honest, I don't know. Because I also like, I think my physique, when I'm in an off season, it's never the most aesthetic. I'm not a Jack Kinsey-Clough who's going to be having strict quads. I'm not a Jack Eagles. I think when I'm in an off season, my shape isn't as it is when I'm in prep. I don't think my shape's immaculate, but I don't think I'm anywhere near as aesthetically pleasing. That like I'm used to that. I don't care. But then when you uncover a bit of body fat, when the muscle can actually push against the actual skin a lot more, and things push through, I'm like, oh, I actually look alright. I'll be honest, I don't know what I've really done because like throughout last year, from like the start of April, I didn't have more than 2 weeks of consistent training, with injuries. Then when I was actually dieting, then it got to about midpoint of July. So I'd only been dieting for like 3 weeks. It got to a point where every single lift would just drop 10 kilos every session. My T-bar went from 6 to 3, and where literally like my food was still high. It was just really weird. Then yeah, it was just a bit strange, and in a weird way, I felt last year like I just wasn't a bodybuilder. And I remember saying as a bit of a joke after my client Will, there,
Shout out Big Will.
yeah, just shout out, won junior first timers in September, then went to the British, came second, and I remember I said as a joke that I was like, oh, I'm just going to retire from bodybuilding. I've already got much better wins with clients and results with clients than I've ever got and I'll ever will get. And I had some people almost be like, yeah, I'm not surprised. Like, not as in like talking down on me, but being like, yeah, fair enough. And I was like, I'm joking. Oh, that shit. But like, I kind of looked at like across my year and I was like, I feel like I haven't really been a bodybuilder at all. I haven't really been on it. In my diet, it was the first diet I've ever done where I was not really on it at all. Like, don't get me wrong, I still ate all my meals, I still did my cardio, did my steps, but then if there was something that came up, I'd be like, yeah, like if I was going to a football game, like me and Molly went to a football game end of August, and I was like, yeah, I'm at a football game, I'm just going to swap a meal out for 2 pints. I was like, I don't really care. I'd rather just have a bit of fun. I didn't really care. I was only going on holiday. Like I was like, me and Molly going on holiday together. I was like, I don't really care. Yeah, I want to be a ballerina, but it's not the end of the world. I felt like I took a massive backseat last year with everything, especially with coaching, picking up with clients on stage. Like I literally got to the point where I was like, I'm going to do every single thing which I need to do before I even worry about me eating a meal. And maybe that's the secret. I don't know. But I also think maybe like, to a certain extent, maybe it's also actually is the answer as well. Putting less stress on having this nailed, having that nailed, when in reality, in an off season, if you're in a surplus and you're eating properly, right, and not even just eating like if you look at the pros, right. If you look at, I remember, I can't remember who spoke about it. I think it was Jack on Chloe and Max's podcast the other day, and he said when he was at like the Gymshark thing, and Ryan Terry was there, he was like, "Oh, have you prepped your meals?" Jack was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, I haven't." And that's Ryan Terry. That's not to say don't prep your meals when you're on prep. I'm not saying that, but I think when you actually take a back seat out of things, sometimes doing all of these things to a certain level and being so meticulous, that doesn't work with you. At all times of the year, you're going to burn out. And last year, I felt so burnt out from my own bodybuilding that I took a bit of a step back, and I think it actually worked a lot better. I went into the gym to go and have fun. My body when I was dieting was a lot lower because I was just a bit fried, and I was like, cool. I go into the gym, I might have 12 sets to do, and I don't want to be in the gym for long because I've got more work to do when I get home. But I'm going to send it for those 12 sets. I'm going to absolutely give everything I possibly can to it. And I had more fun doing that. And I think one of the most important things which people forget is to actually just enjoy what you're doing and have fun. And if you're not enjoying what you're doing, if you're stressed out to things, if you're doing things because you feel like you need to, or you feel like you've got this pressure on you, you're not going to respond anywhere near as well. And like I look at myself and I'm like, yeah, I feel like I've improved. I feel like I could have also improved more if I didn't have things go against me. But then at the same time, if I wasn't as busy, but then I'd choose to be busy. I'd choose to be having clients on stage last year. I started last year with no clients on stage, ended up with 3. And granted, that's not the levels of Tim Stewart, Christian Chapman, you know. But for me, I was like, oh, that's really good. And I put loads of effort into that. I got some really good results. I was like, that's cool. This year I've got 6 or 7 going. Cool. Towards the end of the year, I'm probably going to do the same as what I did last year. I'm probably going to take not a step back and not eat my food or whatnot, but I'm not going to stress as much. If I need to train, I'll train. If I can, I'll probably train 4 times across the week instead of 5, and just run 2 upper sessions, 2 lower sessions, because that might work better. Then those actual sessions, then I can just get in and just crack on, you know. And I think sometimes it's important to have that downtime. We see everyone on social media now. You've got to do this way, you've got to do that way. Do whatever works for you, because if you're like someone who I really respect is Joe Gang. Absolutely phenomenal. I think if you can go and live like Joe and do everything like that, brilliant. But that also is how it works for him. That's what he enjoys.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. I couldn't be the person who wakes up at 5 a.m. on the dot every single morning of my life, because I don't like doing that.
Yep.
I like waking up at 6:30 or 7 if I'm in prep, then cracking on. If I'm in off season, if I haven't got any prep check-ins, I wake up at 7:30 or 8.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. That's what works best for me, and I'm not going to go and change that because I know it's not going to have a benefit to me.
Yep.
I'm still going to start work at the same time. I'm still going to get back to all my check-ins before midday. I will not leave my desk until I do that, unless I need a piss. But you get what I mean. Is I feel like people. I think one of the most important things which I've learned is structure your own way of make bodybuilding work for you.
Yeah. Don't
try and make you fit what you think bodybuilding is, because bodybuilding is just a sport. You can do it however you want to do it. If you want to go and slam 3 pints of chocolate milk, and that works great for you, do it. If you want to go and eat chicken and rice 5 times a day, maybe change the fat content around the pre-workout window, have a bit more rice pre and post, sound cool, do it. If you don't want to do it, if you want to go and eat a diet of whey paste and cream of rice, probably wouldn't advise it from a nutrition quality standpoint. Definitely throw some micronutrients into there. But if that works best for you, go and do it. Sound. You know?
I think like stress, majority of like bodybuilders and just people who go to the gym understand what stress is, but don't actually understand how to apply managing stress into their life specifically.
They know what stress is. They don't do anything about it.
yeah, exactly. And like to me, managing stress is just simply choosing the path of least resistance. So, like, say for example, I'm in prep, right? I have X, Y, and Z things to do today. It doesn't fucking matter when I do it. You know, as long as I get it done. If I woke up in the morning and I was like, you know what, I feel shake today, I don't want to do my steps, that's fine. I can just do them later. Choosing the path of least resistance.
100%.
And it's like people will see like bodybuilders living these perfect lifestyle, which is amazing. It's really motivating. It's nice to see like these people, you know, getting up at 5, doing their steps, doing an hour of cardio before everyone else wakes up. That's nice, but ultimately that's going to stress you out because you're going to think that's the ideal sort of model of what a bodybuilder is, and that's just not true. A bodybuilder just needs to get the shit done. It doesn't matter how you do it, when you do it, how you feel when you do it. As long as you get it done, that's it. So like something that I've been practicing a lot in this prep is 1, choosing the path of least resistance as long as it gets done. But 2, also just having conversations with myself, whether that's writing down notes of what I'm feeling like or journaling, whatever it is. Like, I don't put any pressure on myself as in like I need to journal or I need to talk to myself, but when I feel like it, I just fucking do it. And I think that is something that people really need to practice. Like, just because you're in prep doesn't mean you can and can't do something. Of course you can. You can do whatever the fuck you want. It's just understanding that stress is very much a limiting factor. And just because you understand what stress is, like Josh said, that doesn't mean you know how to manage it.
I think as well, in a prep, aside from eating off-plan meals and going for a night out or whatnot, do the exact same things you would do in your off-season. Go and see your mates. I'm a massive football fan, so I'm going to go to football games. I kind of regret that because last night we lost 3-0 to Madrid and I'm going to the home leg, so it's kind of a waste of money. But I'm like, I want to go to a football game. I want to go to the cup final next Sunday, so I'm going to go. Do the things which you would still do anyway, because even in terms of prep, it breaks the day up, it breaks your prep up. You've got something else to look forward to, and I think in my first prep, I was very much like, I've got to live exactly like this. I've got to do my steps as early first thing in the morning. Granted, I had your Himbine in, so I need to do my cardio fasted. I don't use your Himbine anymore. I don't see much benefit to it for that reason. So I don't think it works with the vast majority of people, especially if they're got to be up early. I can't go and tell them fast for 3 hours. No. But I think one of the most important things is just viewing a prep for what all it is. It's a diet that you're taking to the extreme. Do what you would normally do day to day, but just a bit more or a bit less of certain things. And that's the easiest way to make things suit you the best you possibly can, is just make things easy. Do what you normally would.
If you make everything a challenge, there's only so long you can hang in there. Like, if you're making steps actively a challenge, if you're making cardio actively a challenge, if you're making training something that you don't enjoy, if you're just torturing yourself for the sake of doing things at certain times or in a certain order that's completely arbitrary, like, you just are, especially on those harder days, you're just making them significantly harder for yourself. Like,
Yep.
There is no reason. And again, it's like bodybuilding, like we spoke about earlier, it's about the look, bringing a good look to stage. And if you're stressed out because you did your steps in the evening instead of in the morning, when you don't have any reason to have to do them fasted, it's like you're just going to be chronically stressed all the time. Like, it's just a complete waste. You're just going to look.
And also for me, I like having steps to do in the evening. Because in the evening, I've done all my work. I've not got anything to do left for the day. It's sometimes nice just go for a walk, put some music on and just chill.
Yeah.
And just literally have a think about nothing.
Yep.
It's great. Instead of just being sat. And I think in a prep, that I was actually chatting to my barber about this, because he's kept my hair for years. He even said to me today, he's like, you're like, I haven't said what shows I'm doing, but he's like, I'm assuming you're pretty close to competing, and like, you just seem really chilled out. And I was like, yeah, I learned a lot from last year in terms of what works well. I think the best thing you could possibly do is just do what works best for you, and understand that you can have a few hours which feel a bit shit, but then it also doesn't really matter. And as long as you have a way which suits you best, it's fine, you know. I know for me, I'm not someone who's going to enjoy waking up at 5 in the morning, going to bed at 9 at night. It doesn't suit me. But then I also know that I also don't want to get to the end of the day and have 10k steps to go and do. So I know that I'll go for 5k in the morning, maybe 6, Then when I get to the gym, I'll do 10 minutes of walking on the treadmill. When I'm done, when I'm sending my post-workout shots to Tim or replying to the odd client message and things, I'll then be like, right, I'm going to go and do another 30. I'll put the treadmill on level 6 because then that means that I'm walking faster than I would be when I'm not walking. So I'm probably dragging my feet a bit more when I'm walking normally, right? So then I get home and I've got 3k steps left. Oh, sound, that's just a nice walk in the evening.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that just breaking things up is and just doing things which suit you the best is the best thing you can do.
Couldn't agree more, mate.
I think
Right,
at the
I'm
end
conscious of sorry, go on.
no, Jack, what are you going to say? You're conscious of the time because it is.
Yeah, but man, we got time for another question. Go on.
I was just going to say, like, physique development at the end of the day. I mean, this comes from, I'm not going to say that I thought this because this comes from a previous guest, Tom. But bodybuilding and physique development is just eating hard, training hard, and recovering hard. I mean, if you can recover hard, you know what I mean? But it doesn't need to be this insane, stressed out thing. I think social media and having eyes on you makes you feel like it needs to be a stressed out thing. With everyone being like mini educators nowadays and putting on all their kind of stuff they've done in their day, when most of them are lying anyway, realistically, and making it seem way better than it is. Realistically, we're all doing the same shit.
20 onboarding calls and it's 2 in the morning.
It's insane. It's insane. Like, no one needs to know that. Just get on with your life, keep doing the same shit, and you're gonna look good on stage. Realistically, I think the people, like when I've looked at online, I've been like the people who haven't said much online and have just showed up on the day. I've done fucking fantastically. I think people stress themselves out by feeling like they need to post and they need to do all this shit. Because realistically, you don't need to do anything. As long as you've done your steps, as long as you've done your cardio, as long as you've ate right, you're going to look good. You will. As long as you've got a good coach, which you all do, right? So, I mean, that's just my 2 cents. I think way too many people put this pressure on themselves by setting this unrealistic expectation that they need to eat everything the same time, the same, you know, do everything the same each day because life happens. It's a fucking shit show sometimes. And if you set that expectation to be the same every single day on them days and not learn how to adapt, how the fuck are you going to move forward in life? It just doesn't make sense to me, at least. I think way too many people have this like autistic way of looking at things. That's the only way I can say it. When they just need a little bit of adaptability. But yeah, it's been 56 minutes now, so Jack, you can shut me up.
All good, man. All good. Right. Thank you, Josh, for coming on. Josh's links to his Instagram will be down below. It'll be the first.
Thank you very much for having me, boys.
It'll be top of the description.
been a
If
pleasure.
you want to work with either of us. Yeah, bro. Come on, you got to self-promote. If you want to work with us, our link is there. There's some other links in there. Go and have a gander. It feels weird doing this when we've got a guest. I hate self-promoting. Josh, mate, thank you for coming on. Any final words of wisdom before we wrap things up there?
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Cool, sound. Right, thank you everyone for watching. Have a good one. And until next week, or I believe...
Wait, sorry, did you ask me for any words of wisdom or did you say thank you for the words of wisdom?
I said any words of wisdom.
Oh, nah, still no.
Oh, sound perfect. And on that note...